Welcome to HITC Sport, and Erling Haaland makes me feel like getting sick all over my socks. I mean, do you really think I can afford shoes? I can barely afford toothpaste. Anyway, yes, Erling Haaland. Listen, I've already spoken how I think he looks like Pennywise the Clown, but that's not the reason for the sense of disgust slumming it in the pit of my stomach beside lumps of gravel and hamburgers made of mouse meat. No, the reason is, here we have a 20-year-old child utterly feeding into his own ego by doing an unofficial tour of Europe, holding Mino Raiola's hand on flights to Spain. First off, how disrespectful can you be to Borussia Dortmund? This is like catching your wife on Tinder. No, actually, even worse, no, this is like seeing your wife visit the house of every single bachelor in the neighborhood whilst giving them a PowerPoint presentation on why they should pick her. I've already touched on Mino Raiola, one of football's most powerful super agents who seemingly has control over the futures of world-class athletes across the globe, but seemingly no control when it comes to keeping his nose out of the fridge. Come on, Raiola, when is he gonna learn that 17 fig rolls and 3 pizzas don't constitute an afternoon snack? Good Chris, Raiola is a vulture. As soon as Haaland blew out the candles at his 18th birthday cake, this fella probably had his nose pressed up against the window. You know, like that creepy uncle who chooses to sit at the kiddie table at family functions. Weirdly, this fella still manages Federico Makeda. I'm guessing he probably dodged his calls in 2011. Because Raiola is the Simon Cowell of the footballing world, only associating himself with the biggest and most marketable faces in the sport. And just like Cowell, who regularly dumps X Factor winners from his record label, Raiola is ruthless too. Good Christ, poor old Jesse Lingard was only on his books for 10 months sitting under his sweaty wing, and I realize it's his job to get his client the biggest possible paycheck. But I'm sorry, the pair of them reportedly demanding wages of £1 million per week. Is this actually for real? Does Haaland really consider himself to be worthy of that salary? If he does, then clearly he's living in some perverse fantasy land. Football's answer to f***ing Narnia. £1 million. £1 million a week during a global pandemic where 85% of the world's population have been forced to work from their couch for 13 months. In a world where most economies are probably stuffed on life support machines, the globe is currently undergoing one of the greatest economic crises since the Great Depression. There are probably families scattered across this country who now have to raid the bins outside Burger King for a meal. And Haaland, he wants £1 million per week, plus bonuses and image rights. Chuck in a £150 million price tag, and that adds up to almost £500 million spread across 3 years. £500 million for some Norwegian kid who nobody knew of 2 years ago. I mean, can we just remember he spent the first half of last season playing in Austria? Listen, his goal scoring records are off the charts in Germany. He's only been at Borussia Dortmund just a little over a year and already has 50 damn goals for the club. Sure, he's ripped up the Champions League too, but I am sorry, it's astronomical wages. If I was a wealthy owner of a football club and Haaland demanded this sort of cash at just 20 years of age, I'd tell him to go and jump in a ditch filled with pig sweat, demanding £1 million a week at that age. It's an insult. Lionel Messi is currently on half that wage after tax. Does Haaland think he's twice as good? Listen, he's not the first footballer to negotiate these sort of wages. Gareth Bale, at 30 years old, was about to sign a £1 million a week contract in China, but that's China. Clearly they didn't know what they were doing. The bubble has burst. The country's league champions were just forced to close their windows. Does that not tell you that the Chinese football was living in an utterly nonsense fairyland, thinking they could rapidly chuck cash around with no consequences? But if an actual European giant with pedigree agrees to bend over backwards and let this club fleece them for such ridiculous amounts of money, then I'm sorry, you are the laughingstock of football. Listen, he is a goal-scoring monster. I mean, lads, he's someone who only scored in one game for Norway during the 2019 FIFA World Cup and still managed to win the damn Golden Boot. To be fair, he did score 9 in that one game, but I'm pretty sure the Honduras goalie was probably working part-time down the local butchers. He's a brutal goal-scoring machine, but I'm sorry, a club would need to sell 200,000 shirts to cover a week's wages for Haaland. 200,000, nearly £1 million a month. We now live in a world where this young man from Leeds is trying to get himself £1 million per week. £1 million! That is £142,000 every single day of the year. 140 grand every 24 hours. What? Anyone who pays that, scrub your brain with a comb. £400 million. You can buy Newcastle for less than that. An actual Premier League footballing club costs less than a Norwegian footballer who was playing in Austria last season. It's ridiculous. Mike Ashley's been made to look greedy by continuing to demand 350 million quid for a relegation-threatened club with Steve Bruce as the coach. People are saying that's extortionate, and yet Haaland, a guy whose silverware cabinet consists of 2 Austrian Bundesliga titles and a Serenka Cup with the Norwegian under-17s, he's commanding 400 million over 3 years? Am I the only one who thinks this is utter ridiculous wet nonsense? How is any of this fair? Look at me. literally, just look at me. I haven't been able to afford the dentist in 6 bastard years. I live in a literal swamp. Have you smelled me? Thank Christ you can't smell me. It's just a constant smell of a blocked septic tank. And yet this guy, £1 million a week, becoming a millionaire every week for the next... Every week. Even in the games where he misses an open goal, even the games where his team loses a cup, where is his incentive to improve? He could literally go on a 10-game goal drought, performing like Josie Altidore on Smack, and it wouldn't matter because that's still an extra 10 million quid in his pocket. This would ruin Haaland. It would be the end of him. It's literally ridiculous. Football right now is on its knees. Grassroots football has been utterly strangled by a year-long absence. Last year, Premier League clubs were furloughing staff. The Arsenal dinosaur had to go fetch a job on Burger King. And yet apparently there's still enough corporate greed in the world to create the first £1 million per week footballer. There are honest, hard-working canteen dinner ladies out there who've probably been forced to spend the last year washing their clothes in the sink and feeding their dogs bowl of grass. There are seasoned kit men out there who've probably devoted 50 years of their life to their local club who are now probably having to wear bin bags on their feet. I'm sorry, this is pathetic, and whoever agrees to pay these wages for Haaland, you have instantly lost my respect. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, PSG, whoever it is, this is just disgusting. You can't justify this. How can you? It is disgusting. But also, what would this do to his ego? Because right now, he's the consummate professional. He hates the limelight to the point where he'll sleepwalk his way through post-match interviews, showing the enthusiasm of a drugged-up zombie. You know, a bit like the Nate Diaz of the footballing world. Just a constantly bored-looking expression on his face. He doesn't drink, doesn't go to nightclubs, nothing. Great, he's a choir boy. But what happens when Raiola negotiates him a £1 million a week deal? Do you really think he's still gonna have the hunger and drive to win these Ballon d'Ors? Becoming the most expensive footballer of all time after just 40 games of German football. It would dilute everything. This guy would be earning £98 a minute. Factor in bonuses, image rights, being the poster boy of FIFA alongside Kylian Mbappe for the next 10 years, the advertisements, everything. Then he'd probably be earning close to £500 a minute. Let's just concentrate on the salary only. Okay, 98 quid a minute, or £1.60 every second of his life. How can you live life like that? Every time he takes a dump in the toilet bowl, he'll be coming out of there £10 richer. Christ, I'm just thinking, when I was 20, imagine me given those sort of wages. They gave them to Justin Bieber, and is it any wonder they scrambled his brain, spitting off balconies, trying to punch paparazzis, and getting stuffed in jail? I'll tell you now for a fact, give me that sort of money at 20, and I'd be dead by 21. Think of the hangers on he'll attract. You might say he has his head screwed on now. Does he though? Because he's clearly put the trust in a footballing leech like Raiola. So clearly he doesn't have the best judge of character. Honestly, if he's successful in getting this sort of wage, it would utterly ruin and devastate his career. Because what more does he have to aim for? Yes, he'll want trophies and goal scoring records, but like it or not, the modern day player is mostly motivated by money and chasing the next big deal. But he'll never get a better contract than this ever. So to spend his early 20s having cash rammed down his throat to the point of vomiting, then I guarantee you by 25 years of age, he'll be a washed up party boy dumped on the beaches of the Middle East. Because that'll be the only continent willing to match his stupidly ridiculous wage demands. Honestly, Haaland, stay hungry. Go get a good deal, sure. But £1 million a week? Honestly, that'll be the end of you. Anyway, what's the other big story of the week? Well, PSG has just dumped Bayern Munich out of the Champions League. Roll the damn clip. This won't even be close. Bayern will utterly thump PSG 4-0 in Germany. I don't care that Robin Lewandowski will miss the game. They'll still have enough. Honestly, you're about to witness one of the bleakest chapters in PSG's decade-long history. And after watching this utter 90-minute massacre, you'll all just feel a bit guilty. As if you just sat through an entire marathon of the Saw movies and enjoyed it. Again, in the return leg, PSG will restore a shred of dignity with a spirited 1-1 draw. But lads, oh, this is going to be messy. 4-0. A massacre. Oh lads, how will I manage to make it this long in life without getting hit by a bus? Well, honestly, it's where I was recently the subject of a low-budget lobotomy in my neighbour's shed. Honestly, 4-0 and PSG end up winning the tie. Great news for PSG though, obviously, even though Neymar chose to end the game by laughing in the face of Josh Kimmich. Oh, how very nice. Listen, it was a brilliant first leg win in Germany for the French. Although like Chelsea, they've limped through despite losing 1-0 at home. Congrats, even Eric Choupo-Moting scored the winner. You know, the guy who missed an open goal for PSG against Bayern in the Champions League final last year. What else? Chelsea in the Champions League semi-finals too. For the first time since 2014. The hands up. Who saw this coming? When the Blues were utterly ripped apart by Bayern Munich last season, with Frank Lampard having his career potential ripped apart as if it was made of goddamn popcorn. Imagine telling a Chelsea fan then that they would go further than Bayern in the Champions League next season. Well done, Chelsea. Anyway, let me know in the comments below, what do you think Are these £1 million a week wages normal for? No, they're not though. This isn't even a discussion. They're not. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let me know in the comment section below if you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, I'll talk to you later.